My goodness me, I'm going to hunt you down tomorrow.
It's all right. He's family. It's allowed.
Yeah.
He was mortified.
Oh, I bet.
This is so... I think it's one of the finest bits of design work, I think, this whole basement. It's
The
so
cellar's really
lovely.
perfect, isn't it? I mean, what's so good about it is the white walls.
Yeah.
Because cellars always have black walls and a dark or
Yes.
red brick. And it's white plaster and it just fits in with the hospital so well. It's
Yeah.
clever.
There's the way we want to make her in person.
In
for the
person,
first time.
for the first time. We shot these sequences in a place called Bar Orient in Cardiff Bay, which is a lovely old dim sum bar, and Zoe was with us for one day, and we shot these sequences, and then the scene at the end that she's actually in when.
Which was about 6 weeks before we filmed anything else in the episode, wasn't it?
It was because of her availability,
Yeah.
because she was about to go off and do an episode of Poirot. And so she only had this one day, and she was fantastic that she just whizzed up one morning and then did it and then went back down again. She was so pleased to be up here doing it. So excited. Bless her.
Where did you get the name Chip?
I don't know. I thought I needed a nice, funny little name. You know, they're always called Zogma and Biddly Boo and things like that. And I thought he's just a little pet.
Yeah.
It's not his real name. She just calls him Chip. It's like her Chip.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
It's perfect. I just
It
wondered
is
if it was,
perfect.
referred to anything more specific.
Sweet.
More
it
shots of Cassandra in this one scene, I think, than we had in the whole of episode 2 last year.
And
I love that about this scene, that she's in it so much.
Yes. And she is even more fully raised. It's funny, I saw bits of clips of episode 2 of last year's appearance of Cassandra,
Yeah.
and she is much richer and more fully rendered.
You can really see the
This,
blood pumping, can't you?
Yeah,
Through
there's
the
more
veins.
depth in that.
Wonderful.
Brilliant creation. I mean, that's the mill. That's the people at the mill. Just there's a whole team who worked on Cassandra, and it's one of the hardest things you can do to do a lip synced monster. It's like whenever a CGI monster comes along, they'll say, "Oh, fine," and they'll challenge it so long as it doesn't talk.
Right,
That's the hardest thing of all. Is just getting, and all Cassandra is lip syncing. It's like she's just a mouth. So it's feature film stuff. It's feature film standard, and they do it. They do it brilliantly.
Yeah, they do. She's brilliant.
And they give her character the way she rolls her eyes and rolls her eyes.
They film her when she records the dialogue, don't they, for reference?
It's just a guide, yeah. They don't actually map it onto Zoe Wanamaker's face, but it's a nice acting idea. Oh, here we go. And part of this script, is worth saying, part of this script, the whole... I promised this to Billy last year, because we'd done so much with Billy. She was always getting her heart broken, and her father was dying, and she was being left in the gullies of time and space and things like that. And actually, she's never done a comedy script with her. Doctor often gets a lot of funny stuff to do. And it's often the companion's role that they don't, that they suffer and bleed and wonder what's going on. So I remember sort of saying to her, "Oh, I'm going to write one that's really funny for you," which is twice the work.
I'm sure.
In the end, it's like
it is, though.
it terrified her more than the emoting stuff.
It's great.
I love
She
this
rises
performance.
to it. She now,
Oh, she does it brilliantly.
as Cassandra, she has a Wonder Bra and a slightly different shade of lipstick.
Does she?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that clever?
Yeah.
Yeah. Slightly more vivid, isn't it?
That
Which is clever.
Well, I sort of noticed the
I think the Wonder Bra did linger a bit, though, after Cassandra leaves her, because she quite liked it. Fair enough.
I'm a chav. We showed this episode in Brighton the other week to international buyers. People from Japan were there, from Italy, America, all over the world. And that got a huge laugh. So chav must
I'm a
be a
chav.
funny word in Japan.
I know. You could feel the line coming up, and I thought, oh, this is going to die.
Yeah.
Full of 60 people whose first language is not English. Huge laugh. Off they
Huge
went.
laugh.
Right,
Well, it was you and me.
Phil dropped his pants at the time. So that
Oh, brought the house down.
Pedants could also note here that the woman in the bed is now no longer Sarah, our blonde runner, and has changed into a brunette. But then maybe the patient changed while we
patient,
cut
was
away.
part of her necrosis. I think,
That was part of her illness.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Have we said that's Anna Hope? She's just
We should,
wonderful.
because she's great.
It's the most amazing voice.
I remember her audition. It was like, oh, how extraordinary. It's like,
She's got a real otherworldly quality, doesn't she? It's
Yes.
great. And it comes through all the fur. It's brilliant.
And it was a
And so-
very clever idea with those cats to keep the eyes.
I was just about to say the
Yeah.
same thing. Keep the actress's eyes.
You could have had, the old slit cat's eyes things. And
contact lenses. It gives them so much character, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It gives them each a different character.
it stops them being a monster. And
Yes.
it makes them people in a way.
Yeah.
Go, Billy, go.
Off she goes.
I love the way he jigs up and down with her.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And he was very hard to cast, Chip, wasn't he? That was very, it's like, we went all around the houses, because on paper it was hard to sort of say what on earth is
Well,
chip.
and Sean brought lots of ideas to it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like the little kind of wispy Irish accent was all his own idea, and the slightly awkward physicality was all his own.
And it needed, because he
creation.
was written as Gollum, really. That's what she calls him, Gollum, at one point.
Yeah.
And I'd done a sort of creeping little, strange little thing, and it needed a little bit more than that, actually, and that's where he's brilliant.
He gives that real sense of a creature that's been created in a laboratory, doesn't he? It's not quite, doesn't quite all join up somehow.
Half-Life,
It's great.
He's so sweet.
Yeah, he's adorable. Look at him.
Look how he looks at her. He's so excited for her.
Yeah.
And he becomes her in the end.
Yeah.
That's dark.
That I said to you the other day, well, I don't know what you were on when you wrote that sequence. Becomes her and goes to visit her himself when he dies.
Oh, I remember phoning you up saying,
Goodness me.
I remember phoning you up, I was standing outside the flat actually, I phoned you up going, do you think we can actually get so we want to make it for a day?
Yeah.
And it's like, because I think we made contact with her to say whether she'd like to do a voice.
Well,
but it was
we just, I think, not long done. I met her for some reason anyway, for some sound. Maybe she did a bit of ADR or something. I can't remember.
Oh, right.
And so I just met her. So I remember being really scared and wondering, did she like the episode? Because I'd not spoken to her about it.
Yes.
The episode 2, I mean. And she absolutely loved it. And so I kind of knew she'd come up and do it again, actually. It was just fitting in,
If not,
because she's incredibly
her
busy.
sister Roseanne would have made a sudden appearance. No fear.
Poor old Michael. It was so hot. It was July, wasn't it, this, David? And he's got the most enormous prosthetic.
He had a
God.
coolant system inside the fat suit
Did.
because he had so much prosthetics on his face and huge padding on his body that there was a channel of cold water that travelled round his body
Yes, there
throughout
was.
the day. Yeah, to stop
There
him
was
from
to
passing
try and
out.
keep him cool.
God, I just sit at home and miss all this.
Yeah, there he was,
Right.
poor man. Oh, he was hot.
It was the middle of summer.
I mean, he's not a small lad, Michael himself, but
No, he's
but
not.
by the time he had all that stuff on him, he was gargantuan.
And of course, it was. There's no point not saying it was terribly difficult to film this episode. I think it was probably the hardest episode we've ever made because of the number of prosthetics and the number of creatures and the makeup times it took, and just Michael there turning from stone, petrifold regression to normal. He would have to go off, and it took something like 3 hours to get that stuff on him and reapply his normal makeup and put the
And again, this was
prosthetics
coming
back
at the end
on.
of a recording block, which had the Christmas special, which had
Yes.
its own difficulties and had overrun a bit.
Yes.
And then the school reunion, which we filmed second, had filled its time and gone over a bit. So by the time we got to film New Earth, we were chasing our tails before we started,
We were.
really, weren't we? And then there were all these added.
And it is
difficulties.
ambitious because it's funny because it's the equivalent we did the End of the World last year,
Yeah.
which is set in the future with a lot of creatures. But actually, if you look at the End of the World, it's basically set in 3 rooms.
Yes,
and
it
then there's a
is.
lot of big fans, and there's an awful lot of CGI work, and it was very tough to shoot, but it was simpler. This is a hospital, and they move more, and there's a chase, and people are. There's just more interaction.
Yeah.
It's more alive as a drama because we're sort of. Just as we discover what we can shoot, we then go a bit further, just to make it hard work. So,
And I mean, each of these cat faces took an hour and a half to put on, didn't they, or more? Even.
I think they were about 2.5, 3 hours to
then
apply.
you get the patients. It's like,
And then
And
the
the patients,
patients,
yeah.
all the extras had to be the same. And in fact, that scene we just saw with them going to look at the patient in the pod, that was built at the side of our studio, not the big set that we went to in the paper mill, because that fell off that day, the main day, so we had to remount that scene.
It's funny watching this because there's a lot of that in this because of of all the various difficulties we were facing. There was a lot of going back and picking up snatched shots here and there, and watching it now because you've been involved in it. It's sometimes you're aware of the patchwork of it, but I don't think if you didn't live through it, you would notice.
doesn't show when it's